Ram Hoilo Nitai. So the acharyas in our disciplic line, they have told who is Lord Nityananda. So before I begin, I want to read, there are a few verses in the Mangala Charan, the auspicious invocation to this book Chaitanya Charitamrita by the author Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. In the very first chapter, he gives us about 4 verses just telling us who is Lord Nityananda. And Prabhupada hasn't given any purport to these verses. But we should just hear them and then we'll hear something about Lord Nityananda. So the first one is verse 7. This is in chapter 1. This chapter is entitled The Spiritual Masters. So he says, Sankarshana karana toya shayi, garboda shayi cha payobdi shayi, sheshascha yashamsha kalasa nitya, nandakya rama sharanam mamatsu. Translation. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sheshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karana ocean, the Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are all his plenary portions and portions of his plenary portions. The next verse he says, Mayatite bhyapi vaikuntha loke Purnashraye Sri Chatubryuha Madhye Rupam Yashodbhati Sankarshanakyam Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. Translation. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshana, in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, which are Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. This is the first Chaturvyuha. He possesses full opulences and he resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. The next verse. Maya Bharta Jananda Sangashrayanga Shete Shakshad Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yasyaikam Shashri Pumamadi Devas Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation, called Karano Dakshai Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all the universes. Next verse. Yasyam shamasha srilagarbhashai yannabhyajam loka sanghatanalam lokashastu shutika dhamadatus tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshai Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Lord Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. And the last verse, describing Lord Nityananda, he says, Yasyam Shamsamsha Paratmat Kilanam Pushta Vishnu Bhati Dugdabdishai Shuni Bhartayat Kalasopyanantas Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kirodakshai Vishnu is the supersoul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanaga is his further subpart. So as I said, Prabhupada gave no purport to these verses. He just wanted us to hear something about Lord Nityananda, but Srila Prabhupada also lectured on these verses, trying to give us an understanding of how, just who Lord Nityananda is. Because during the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Lord Nityananda appeared on the scene, he didn't join Lord Chaitanya, he didn't meet with Lord Chaitanya until Lord Chaitanya had come out. He was a closet Hare Krishna. Means before he came out as a devotee, he was just a scholar, Nimai Pandit. And he used to taunt the devotees, make fun of them, challenge them to debate and defeat them. And they used to try to avoid him because he was so mischievous. And they would say, if only Nimai could become a devotee. And when he heard them say that, he said, I will become a devotee, but I'll be the best devotee you'll ever see. And his arrogance was like another turn-off to them. What to do? But after meeting his spiritual master, he changed. Everything changed. This is true for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is true for us also. When we meet our spiritual master, our life changes. So, it wasn't until he began to manifest himself as a devotee, always chanting, that Lord Nityananda came and joined him, and they met in Navadvip. But before that, no, actually after that, Lord Nityananda was a very difficult person to understand. He is called an avadut. Lord Nityananda, he was above the Varnashram institution. He didn't act accordingly. So he was easily misunderstood. People took him as a crazy man, as a crazy fellow. But Lord Chaitanya, from the very beginning, would try to instruct his devotees, no, don't misunderstand Nityananda Prabhu. And similarly, the acharyas, spiritual masters in our disciplic line, they have gone through great lengths to explain just who is Nityananda Prabhu. As I say, because he behaves so unconventionally. Lord Chaitanya was always telling the devotees, who is this Lord Nityananda? So as I said, we didn't know anything, especially coming in the West, we knew nothing. Never heard the name Nityananda. Even hearing the name Lord Chaitanya, that was new. We heard Krishna. Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book so we could learn something about Krishna. But people in the West had never heard these things. And then to explain that Krishna is non-different from Lord Chaitanya, that made our heads spin. And to hear that Lord Balaram is Lord Nityananda, that's another head spinning. So it takes a lot. But it can be understood, it's a science. And Prabhupada has labored extensively to explain this to us, so that we could then preach on behalf of this great movement. Preach on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya desired it. He expressed it. First he said, everyone born in India, he said, any man born in, it is his duty to take up this Krishna consciousness and preach. Later on, Prabhupada told us that order was transferred to the Western devotees because people weren't doing it. Anyway, Lord Nityananda, let's stay on course. He was born in a place called Ekachakra, which is also in Bengal, on the outskirts, you could say, of Navadvip. He was born to a couple, Harai Pandit and his wife Padmavati. He was their only offspring. And as a child, we learned from the Goswamis and some of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, they have written about Lord Nityananda, especially Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das Thakur, he wrote the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he was a devotee of Lord Nityananda. He said Lord Nityananda ordered him to write this Chaitanya Bhagavat. And we also learned from the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who was also empowered by Lord Nityananda to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Harai Pandit and Padmavati had this son, Nityananda, who they named. And it is said that as a child, children like to play. Well, Nityananda's childhood pastimes was he would play with the other children, and he would only play the Leela of Krishna and Ram. He knew these Leelas, obviously, because he participated in them originally. As we know, he is Lakshman, and he's Balaram. So, but as a child, Nityananda, this was his play. And by playing with the children, he was educating them about these Leelas, Krishna Leela and Ram Leela. And not only the children, the adults in the village, they all delighted, they took pleasure in hearing and seeing the childhood pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Then as he began to grow a little older, one day a sannyasi came to the house of Harai Pandit. And being a learned person, Harai Pandit, he invited that sannyasi to stay in his house so he could serve him. So for a few days he served this sannyasi, fed him prasadam and so on. And then when the sannyasi was about to leave, Harai Pandit said to him, as a cultured Brahmana would, he said, Prabhu, is there anything I can do for you? Is there any service I can render? You tell me, you order me, and I will give it to you. So the sannyasi thought for a moment, and he said, well, you have a nice boy there, your son, Nityananda Prabhu. I said, yes. He said, well, I need a servant. I need someone to travel with me. And I'd like to have your son. So Harai Pandit was like, he could not believe this is what this sannyasi is asking. He thought, how is it possible? But being a real cultured Brahmana, he could not refuse. Although he didn't want to, but he could not refuse. So he gave his son, his only son, Nityananda, to this Brahman. He knew that by traveling with this sannyasi means he would also be trained to be a sannyasi, which is a noble thing. It's a wonderful thing. Actually, our Prabhupada said, when he took sannyas, because he used to be involved in business, you know his former life, he had acquaintances with many wealthy businessmen. And after taking sannyas, Prabhupada said, I went to some of them and I requested them, you have 4 sons, give me just one of them and I will train him, I'll make him to be a first-class Vaishnava. But nobody would agree to that. Such an offer, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Prabhupada came to you and he says, give me your son. So Prabhupada was merciful. He said, you have 4. Just give me one only. You'll have 3, I'll take 1. But I will train him to be a first-class Vaishnava, first-class devotee. But nobody, they could not appreciate that request. So, but this was the culture. When Harai Pandit was asked by this sannyasi, he did it. Imagine giving up your only son, and not ordinary son, but Nityananda was very beautiful and wonderful. His very name tells you that. Nityananda. He's always experiencing spiritual bliss. He's always happy. And to give your only child like that, this was a big thing. So shortly after the sannyasi left, Harai Pandit died. He gave up his body. He could not bear the separation from Nityananda Prabhu. So Lord Nityananda, for many years, he traveled with this sannyasi and he went visiting all the holy places of pilgrimage. Eventually he ended up in Vrindavan. It is said that when he arrived there, he felt that the worship in the temples was lacking. He could not feel the presence of Krishna in the deities. Because he said, this worship is not up to standard. But he stayed there for a while, and one day someone came and told him that Krishna has appeared, has incarnated. He's in Navadvip, going by the name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And he is spreading Sankirtan. So Lord Nityananda thought, then I will go there. So he journeyed to Navadvip, and he went and he stayed at the house of Nandanacharya. Nandanacharya was a nice Vaishnava. He allowed Nityananda to stay there. Now Lord Chaitanya, being omniscient, as I said, he had started coming out, going out on Sankirtan every morning. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes Udilo Aruna Purabhavage Dvijamani Gaura Amani Jagi. The jewel of the twice born, Gaurang Lord Chaitanya, every morning early would gather his devotees and they would go out and Sankirtan. Even though the rest of the people in the village and towns were asleep, they would come doing Sankirtan, telling people, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. Wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch Maya? You have this human form of life, it is meant for this. So he was doing this. And Lord Nityananda came to town and he's staying at Nandanacharya. So Lord Chaitanya said to his devotees, I had a dream last night. I had a dream that a great personality came riding on a chariot, came up to my house, and he had a flag on his chariot of Balaram. And he was asking, he was calling out loud, is this the home of Nimai Pandit? Is this the home of Nimai Pandit? This all was in Lord Chaitanya's dream. So as he's telling his devotees, he said, go and find this great personality. He's somewhere in Navadvip. So many of his devotees, Haridas Thakur and others, they're gone looking for this great personality. So they've gone to respectable places where there's ashrams and temple, and they're inquiring, did a great personality arrive in town? And nobody said, no, we haven't seen any great personality come in. So after many hours of searching and they couldn't find Nityananda, they came back to Lord Chaitanya and said, we couldn't find any great personality in all of Navadvip. So Lord Nityananda said, come with me, I know where he is. And he took the devotees straight to the house of Nandanacharya. And when he got there, Nityananda Prabhu was sitting on the porch, just chanting, peacefully chanting Krishna Nam. And as the two of them, their eyes met, they knew. Lord Nityananda knew. Lord Chaitanya knew. This is my elder brother, Nitai. The devotees surrounding Lord Chaitanya, I must add that they used to wonder, who is Lord Chaitanya? Sometimes they thought, maybe he's Krishna. But when they thought like that, they would, nah, it's not possible. How could it be Krishna? If it's Krishna, then where is his associates? Because Krishna doesn't go anywhere alone. When Krishna comes to this world, who he brings? The whole spiritual, his entourage, all of them come with him. So they're saying, if Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, where is his associates? And then when they saw Nityananda Prabhu, they began to think, he must be Balaram, he must be, if he is Krishna, then he must be Balaram. And they thought, and what about his other associates? And then they realized, we are his associates. So Lord Chaitanya told them, this is Nityananda Prabhu, and you have to understand who he is. And he said the following day he took them to the house of Srivas Thakur from Panchatattva. He said tomorrow is known as Guru Purnima, where the Guru is worshipped. So a big holy day, especially worshipping of Vyas. Vyas Dev was like the guru for everyone. He compiled the Vedic literatures. So they went there to have a celebration. And Nityananda was there, and Advaita, everybody was there, and Lord Chaitanya, by example, he worshipped the feet of Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda is also, he's known as the Akhanda Guru Tattva. He's the original Guru. As Balaram, he is Krishna's Guru also. But in our disciplic succession, Nityananda Prabhu is the Akhanda Guru Tattva. So Lord Chaitanya, from the very beginning, began to instruct the devotees who Lord Nityananda is. And he joined the Sankirtan party, and he would go out with them all over Nadia. Then when Lord Chaitanya wanted to take sannyas, the first person he told was Nityananda Prabhu. He said, I'm going to take sannyas. And Nityananda said, you can't do that. What will happen to your devotees? What will happen to Mother Sachi and Vishnu Priya and everyone? Because he was the love of everyone's life in Nadia. He had everything going for him. A loving mother, faithful wife, and all his associates, his friends. Life was wonderful in Nadia. And suddenly he wants to take sannyas and leave. So Lord Nityananda tried to tell him, this will be, I don't know about this. He said, I have to do it. I have to do it. As I am, as a householder, people don't respect me. His students, they didn't respect him. But at that time in the culture in India, if someone was a sannyas, everybody respects a sannyasi. So his sannyas was for the benefit of everyone, benefit of us. This sannyas lila doesn't exist in the spiritual world, it exists here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it for us. So his sannyas is dear to us. But for his other devotees, his intimate devotees, they didn't like it. Prabhupada said, they don't like to see him as a sannyasi. One time, one of Prabhupada's disciples who was a sannyasi, Prabhupada allowed him to get some Gaurnitai deities. And he began to dress them like sannyasis. And he asked Prabhupada, is it all right to do this? And Prabhupada said, the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu don't like to see him as sannyasi. So that was the end of that. They want him to be with them, having kirtan at Srivasangam, Nadia. That's the desire of the devotees. But to get there, you need his sannyas. So when he decided, after telling Nityananda Prabhu, he also told Vishnu Priya, his wife, and then he left one early morning. He just left. So the rumors were going about that Nimai has taken sannyas. But they couldn't imagine that it would actually happen. But he did it, and he left. But he didn't get far. He wanted to go to Vrindavan, but he didn't get far because Nityananda Prabhu tricked him. Nityananda Prabhu met him on the way. he was approaching the Ganga, and he saw Nityananda Prabhu. He says, "What are you doing here?" And Lord Nityananda Prabhu said, "This is the Jamuna. I'm in Vrindavan." He said, "Oh really? That's where I wanted to go." He said, "Well, come with me. Come in this boat. I'll take you to..." But it wasn't. He just tricked him. And he brought him back. He brought him to the house of Advaita. And then he arranged so all the devotees could get to see Mahaprabhu like for one last time. Because he was leaving, and without them even saying goodbye or seeing him. So they came to the house of Advaita Acharya. Everybody was allowed to come except Vishnupriya. Nityananda Prabhu arranged all of this. He is always serving Lord Chaitanya. It is said that he is serving Lord Chaitanya from head to toe. There's one song where he says, I'm trying to remember, Drijamani Bhakshe Tava Jalamala Sutra. He is serving Lord Chaitanya from head to toe. He is even the Brahman thread, the sutra that Lord Chaitanya wears. That is Lord Nityananda. He expands that. In the same way Balaram expands to serve Krishna from head to foot. Balaram is his bed, his shoes, his umbrella, everything. So Nityananda is the same. He expands for everything to serve Lord Chaitanya. So at that time at Advaita's house, when Sachimata saw Lord Chaitanya, saw her Nimai with a shaved head, she was crying. And Lord Chaitanya fell at her feet and he says, "My dear mother, what can I say? In a moment of madness, I took sannyas." Like, I don't know what came over me. He's trying to make an excuse. In a moment of madness, I took sannyas. But this body belongs to you. Right? The mother gives the body. He said, if you want, I'll give up this sannyas and come back home right now. So Sachimata said, "No, you can't do that." She wouldn't tolerate that. How could you do this? If you did that, you'd be a laughing stock. People will talk about you. They'll gossip about you. I couldn't tolerate that. That is worse than you taking sannyas. So she said, "I have a better idea. You should go to Jagannath Puri, because that is not too far away. Make your headquarters there. And devotees are always from Bengal, they're always going to Puri. They go for Rath Yatra. And this way when they go and come back, I will always get news about you." So he agreed. So by the blessings of Sachimata, he went to Jagannath Puri. Nityananda went with him also. Some of his devotees, Gadadhar, they all went. And they had wonderful pastimes there, where he was doing Sankirtan daily. But he still had a desire, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. He said, "I'm a sannyasi, I have to travel and preach." He went to South India. He actually went all over India. Went to Vrindavan. And I think he made two outings. 2 traveling outings he did. And each time he tried to go, each of those times, nobody wanted him to go. Even Nityananda tried to stop him. Nityananda would say, "Well, let me come with you." He said, "No, I don't want anyone." But they would persist, and eventually he would agree to take a servant. But Nityananda stayed with him there. And he celebrated with him all the Ratha Yatra pastimes. You can read about these pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nityananda was always there to catch Lord Chaitanya when he, in ecstasy, he would falling to the ground. Nityananda was right there to catch him. He's always serving Lord Chaitanya. Inseparable. But then, one day Lord Advaita Prabhu came to Lord Chaitanya and said, yeah, the mission that you have come to do is done. You've got the Sankirtan movement going. So now you can concentrate on the other reason you came. Because he knew, who was Advaita? We heard he's Mahavishnu. And he had prayed for Lord Chaitanya to come. So he said, you have an internal reason why you come. And that was to taste the love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna. So he said, you can focus on this now. The Sankirtan movement will go on with your devotees. So just at that time, Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda Prabhu, I want you to go back to Bengal. If you stay here with me, then who will preach in Bengal? Lord Nityananda, of course, he wanted to be with Lord Chaitanya, but here he was getting an order to go and preach. So he left, and he went to Bengal, and many of his associates, it is said that the associates of Nityananda Prabhu, because he is Balaram in Krishna Lila, his associates were all cowherd boys. Dwadasa Gopals. 12 of them principally were all principal cowherd boys in Krishna Lila. So they went with him to Bengal, and he began to preach in Bengal. He actually started the you could say the Chaitanya Sampradaya. And at that time, there was no books. There was nothing. Meanwhile, on Lord Chaitanya's side, Lord Chaitanya sent Rupa and Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan and ordered them to write books. But imagine trying to form a sampradaya, a big movement, and there's no books. But still Lord Nityananda went and started it in Bengal. And this morning, Harivilas Prabhu read one pastime where he encountered this rascal Ramchandra Khan. Yeah. So many, many wonderful pastimes took place in Bengal with Lord Nityananda and his associates. He preached there extensively. Prabhupada, he gave a purport to one song, Nitai Gunamani. He said, and in that he explains that Lord Nityananda is an ocean of good qualities. Yeah. And he, being ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Bengal, Prabhupada said, this song is by Lochan Das Thakur. He describes that Lord Nityananda cut a channel to Bengal, and in that channel flowed the ocean of love of God, Prem, and it went to every door, every house in Bengal. So he was responsible for that part of the country, flooding it with Krishna consciousness for many, many, many years. And as I said, they're wonderful pastimes. Before he went to Bengal, Lord Chaitanya told him, when you go to Bengal, I want you to get married. And Lord Nityananda said, what? He said, yes. He said, I want you should get married. He said, but I'm a sannyasi. Of course, the kind of sannyasi he was questionable to everyone because of how he would behave as an avadut. His behavior was very, unorthodox. People misunderstood him all the time. He was, whereas, as I say, Lord Chaitanya, he was a Pakka sannyasi, first class sannyasi. He was within the Varna ashram, although he's transcendental to it, he functioned within it as a sannyasi. He was such a strict standard that even the older sannyasis, men who were 50 years his senior, they would shudder, they were afraid to come around him because he was so staunch. So he actually acted like a sannyasi, and much to the displeasure of some of his devotees. Even Lord Nityananda once broke his danda. He took the danda of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he says, "What is this nonsense? You being a sannyasi," and he broke it. Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya was externally angry, but internally he was happy. Because he knew what was behind it. So here he is telling Nitai, you go to Bengal and you must get married. And Nityananda said, but I'm a sannyasi. Why are you telling me to get married? He said, you go and get married, and I will take birth as one of your children, one of your descendants. So when he went to Bengal, who was it? Goridas Pandit. He had was Goridas Pandit? So many names to remember. He had 2 daughters, and he had a dream that his daughter was Janava, his daughters were Janava and Vasudha, right? And he dreamed that Lord Nityananda would marry them, would marry Janava. But then one day Janava, she had an epileptic fit. She was sick, and they thought she would die. And nobody knew what to do, and then said, go and see Lord Nityananda. If anybody can help her, he can help her. So they went, and Lord Nityananda, by casting his merciful glance on Janava, she came back. And then it came out that he wants to marry her. So everything was arranged. He was going to marry her. But then she had another sister, this Vasudha. And Lord Nityananda says, I'll marry her also. I'll take both of them. It's just like Balaram had 2 wives. What are the wives of Balaram? Revati and can't remember? Come on. Varuni and Revati. So Nityananda Prabhu also had 2 wives. And one of them, I think Vasudha, had a son named Birabhadra. And this son was considered to be non-different from Lord Chaitanya. He was a very big, powerful preacher in Bengal, Birabhadra. So Lord Nityananda, as I said, had many wonderful pastimes there in Bengal. But we should know, he's always with Lord Chaitanya, inseparably. And he doesn't do anything that isn't approved by Lord Chaitanya or sanctioned by Lord Chaitanya. He so much wants to help Lord Chaitanya. And in spreading Krishna consciousness, he helps the devotees to get Lord Chaitanya's mercy. To get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, you have to go through Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada has told us this. You have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And in one of the songs of Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he says, Ek bar dekle chake jal, gaura bole nitai de sakala samba. That if Lord Nityananda sees just one time somebody is chanting the name of Lord Chaitanya and there's a tear in his eye, he becomes purchased by that person. He gives himself to that person. So he's very, very merciful. He said Lord Chaitanya would give Krishna consciousness to whoever will accept it. But Lord Nityananda, he would give it to those who didn't want it, who refused it. A classic example is Jagai Madai. This was done, of course, in Navadvip, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still there as Nimai. Lord Nityananda, he was sent out to go and preach, and he went out with Haridas Thakur, and they were in the town of Navadvip, and there was a big commotion. People were gathering around, big crowd. So Nityananda Prabhu inquired from someone, what is going on here? And they said, oh, you don't want to go there. There's these two brothers, Jagai and Madai. And they are the worst. They are so horrible. You don't go there. But what did Lord Nityananda think? He said, that's exactly where I want to go. He thought, if I could get the most fallen people to take to Krishna consciousness, then my Lord Gauranga's name will be glorified more and more. So that's why he was sent to Bengal, to the fallen, downtrodden people. Bengal was not a sophisticated place. So he went there and he preached there extensively. Approaching, it said he didn't care. He would go to anyone and everyone, especially the most fallen people. And all Srila Prabhupada his preaching campaign was very much likened to the mood of Lord Nityananda. Because where did Prabhupada begin his preaching? He came to the West. He came to America. According to, in the minds of people of India, this was a degraded place. These people were immoral. So many pious people tried to dissuade Prabhupada from going. But he came anyway. He was determined that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants us to go. At least I should try. And he comes to America, which was, outside of the morality of India. And who did he attract first? People who were even outside of the morality of America. The hippies. The lowest people. That's where Prabhupada began. That's where he started. But he trained them and transformed them and then sent them out. And then he brought them back to India. He said at that time, because the Indians were so much wanting to be like America, want to follow the Americans with materialism, he says, if you want to follow Americans, follow these Americans, my disciples. And some of the devotees who went with Prabhupada that first time he did a tour of India with his disciples, I spoke to some of them and they said people were shocked. People were asking them, "You really like this?" In other words, we don't like it. They were, "You really like this, Hare Krishna?" They were surprised. They couldn't imagine. But Prabhupada, this was his strategy. He had taken these fallen people and raised them, purified them. He knew how to raise them, how to purify them, and bring them up. He didn't, it's not that they joined and they remained like that, no. They gave up all these bad things, intoxication, meetings and everything. And he took them to... So this is the mercy of Lord Nityananda. This was his preaching. Nityananda Prabhu, there's even one verse that says, if you see Lord Nityananda in a brothel talking to some working lady, don't think anything wrong. No, you should understand, he's there doing the work of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's preaching. He's going to make her a devotee. Because he would do crazy things like that. And Lord Nityananda, in sending him to Bengal, he said, as a sannyasi, I can't go everywhere. Otherwise my sannyas would come into question. He even refused to see the king in Puri, Riraj Prataparudra, who was a devotee, but he was the king. He wanted to see, he wanted to get an audience of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu refused. He told, his guru was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He said, come on, what do I have to do to get an audience with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Sarvabhauma told him, forget about it. He doesn't do that. Doesn't do what? He doesn't see kings. He will not see you. He will not talk. Forget it. So Lord Chaitanya was so strict. And in sending Nityananda to Bengal, he says, you can go, you can meet with all the people that I can't meet with. That's why he wanted him to get married. He said, you can do anything, and you'll do anything. You've already shown us you'll do anything. But Lord Chaitanya would remain very, very, very strict. There's a nice pastime I like to recall of Jagadananda Pandit. Jagadananda Pandit was one of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's principal associates. He was Satyabhama in Krishna Lila. And he was always trying to pamper Lord Chaitanya. You know, pamper. He wanted to give him everything nice, and Lord Chaitanya would always be refusing, saying, I'm a sannyasi. So one time he went to great trouble to travel, walked for long distance to get some very special fragrant oil, special sandalwood oil, and he brought it back in a clay pot. And he gave it to Lord Chaitanya's servant. He said, whenever you're going to give him a massage, use this oil. It is very special. I went through a great difficulty to get it. So when Lord Chaitanya, and he left it and he went home, when Lord Chaitanya came back, and he says, what is that clay pot? And he said, Jagadananda has brought you this oil from somewhere far to massage you with. He said, what does he think I am? I'm a sannyasi. I'm not a sense enjoyer. I don't want to use this oil at all. So he refused. Next day when Jagadananda comes back, he asked Lord Chaitanya's servant, I think it's Mukunda or Govinda. He says, so did you use the oil on Prabhu? He said, no, he won't. He told me not to. He doesn't want to touch it. He says, he's a sannyasi. Well, Jagadananda got so angry. He was just like Satyabhama would have fits. He took up the oil and he went outside the door and he trashed it on the ground, broke it, spilled it. And when Lord Chaitanya heard it, he come running to the door and he said, what happened? And he saw the thing. He said, what, is that the oil? He said, Jagadananda looked at him and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about any oil. So with his different devotees, he had different pastimes. And Nityananda Prabhu had different pastimes with him. Wonderful pastimes. So we should all take advantage of the Chaitanya Charitamrita and read about these wonderful pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya used to say that Lord Nityananda is his other self. Whatever he didn't do, he did it through Nityananda Prabhu. So they are both. As Prabhupada would say, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be served, and Nityananda is the Supreme Personality of God, Servitor Godhead. He's the Servitor Godhead. He is also the Supreme Lord. And there's a parallel between the pastimes of Gaur Nityananda and Krishna and Balaram. They are non-different. So, Prabhu, you want to take over? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I can get a... Very much, Agni Prabhu. That was very nice. And continuing what you were saying, that we should take benefit from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Prabhupada was coming to the United States on that boat, the Jaladuta, he was reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita all the time. Because it is pure nectar. So, Lord Nityananda was preaching in Bengal, and he came to see a devotee named Raghunath Das. And Raghunath Das's mother was complaining. She said that our son has become crazy. He's trying to run away from home. And he's got such a beautiful young wife, and he's like Indra. You know, he has such opulence. And, a beautiful home, and he's driving me crazy, and my husband also. Raghunath has the opulence of Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as an angel.
But that's not enough to tie him down. And how can we keep this boy at home? We tie him up with ropes? So she was really complaining about her son. But actually, Raghunath Das had received the benediction and mercy of Lord Chaitanya. She was saying, you know, how can you keep home such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra? So Raghunath Das, he heard that Nityananda was in their area where he was living. And he wanted to go and see Lord Nityananda. So in the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das arranged to have an interview with Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda was accompanied by all his associates who were doing Harinam Sankirtan. And Lord Nityananda was sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank of the Ganges. And when Raghunath Das saw him, he was like effulgent. Nityananda was effulgent, like hundreds and thousands of rising suns in the eyes of Raghunath Das. And there were many, many devotees sitting down with Lord Nityananda, just, you know, their eyes were just full of the radiance of the Lord. And seeing this, Raghunath Das himself was astonished. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. And he offered his obeisances. He did full dandavat from a distant place. And one of the servants of Lord Nityananda said, "Oh, there is Raghunath Das offering you obeisances." So, hearing this, Lord Nityananda said, "You are a thief. Now you have come to see me. Come here, right away. Today I shall punish you for being a thief." So, Raghunath Das didn't dare go near him. And then the Lord Nityananda forcibly grabbed him and placed his lotus feet on the Raghunath Das's head. And this was the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So he was so merciful. And then he spoke to Raghunath Das. He said, "You're just like a thief, for instead of coming near me, you stay away in a distant place. Now I have captured you, I shall punish you." Now why did Raghunath Das say that, why did Lord Nityananda say that Raghunath Das was a thief? You know? Because he, yes? Yes and no. That's partially true what you just said. No, he said he's a thief because he was very rich. He's very, very rich. He was like Indra. And whenever a person becomes rich, obviously they exploit other people. And therefore, they accumulate more wealth than what they actually need. So that is actually, in a sense, sinful. So it wasn't exactly Raghunath, but it was, you know, his father and his uncle. And they were also tax collectors for the Muslim king. Anyway, he said, "Now I'm going to punish you. I've got you. I've captured you. I'm going to punish you. And the punishment I'm going to give you is you have to pay for this big festival that I want." And he said, "I'm going to make a festival called Panihati Chipped Rice Festival. And you're going to pay for it." So when Raghunath heard this, he was very happy. It didn't sound like a punishment. Why? Because he was not really a businessman. He was a devotee. A businessman would get upset. He said, what? I mean, it's going to cost so much money. I mean, you know, it's so hard to make money. You know how businessmen are. They're always, you know, have hesitation to spend a lot of money, especially on something spiritual. You know, they'll spend a lot of money on investments to make more money, but why should they invest in something spiritual? It's just, for them, it's a loss of money. Anyway, Raghunath Das immediately sent out his own men to a nearby village and purchased all kinds of eatables. And he bought chip rice and yogurt, milk, sweetmeats, sugar, bananas, and other eatables, and placed them all around near Nityananda Prabhu and all his devotees. And as soon as people heard that there was going to be a big festival, and obviously is free, then they all kinds of brahmanas and other gentlemen began to arrive. And there was now a huge crowd, innumerable it's described. And seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged for more eatables from other villages. He didn't say, oh, what's going on here? I didn't expect this, you know, I can't spend all this money. No, he didn't say that. He became happy. And he bought around 400 large earthen pots. You know, they didn't have like Costco at that time. You can go and buy plastic things. So he bought these clay pots and big ones. And he obtained, besides the big ones, some very special, very big pots also. And he asked the brahmanas to prepare the chip rice for the festival, for Nityananda. So they soaked some of the chip rice in hot milk, and they put some in yogurt, and there was sugar and bananas. At that time, they didn't have white sugar, of course. They had jaggery and gur, which is a whole sugar. And the other, and then another pot, they put condensed milk and special types of banana called champa kala, and then sugar and and then ghee and camphor were added. And then Lord Nityananda bathed and then put on special cloth, new cloth, and he sat on a raised platform. And the brahmanas brought these 7 very huge pots in front of Lord Nityananda. And on the platform, the most important guests were seated, all important men in Lord Nityananda's party. And there's a description of their names. I won't go through all the names, but they're all actually eternally liberated souls that were accompanying the Lord. And so hearing about this festival, all kinds of learned scholars, brahmanas, priests went there. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu honored all of them and had them sit on the raised platform. And everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. And one was put chipped rice with condensed milk, and the other chipped rice with yogurt. And all the people sat in groups around the platform. And no one could count how many people were there. It was such a huge, huge crowd. And each and every one of them was supplied with 2 earthen pots. One for chipped rice soaked in yogurt, and one for chipped rice soaked in condensed milk. And some of the brahmanas didn't have a place to sit on the platform, so they sat around the platform on the ground, and they were on the bank of the Ganges, so it was like soft sand. And they also received their pots and with the chipped rice. And there were some people that couldn't even sit on the sand, so they just stood in the Ganges, or they sat in the shallow part of the Ganges, or they stood in the Ganges. And they also had their pots. And everyone, then Raghava Pandit arrived. Now Raghava Pandit is a very special devotee because he could cook food that tastes like nectar. So when he came, he saw the situation, and he began to laugh, and he was surprised. And he also brought all kinds of cooked food in ghee and offered it to Lord Nityananda. And then he placed everything he brought in front of Lord Nityananda, and then when the Lord accepted it, he started to distribute it also to everyone that was present. And Raghava Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, "For you, sir, I have already offered food to the deity, but you are engaged in a festival here, so the food is lying there untouched." Lord Nityananda said, "Let me eat all this food here first during the day, and then I shall eat the food at your home tonight." So he said, "I belong to a community of cowherd boys, and therefore I generally have many, many cowherd associates with me. I am happy when we eat together in a picnic like this by the sandy bank of the river Ganges," by the river. So Lord Nityananda made Raghava Pandit sit down and had 2 pots delivered to him also. And there were 2 kinds of chip rice soaked in those pots. So when the chip rice was served to everyone, so in other words, he's saying, look, I'm going to eat this feast first, but then I'll come to your house tonight and eat dinner in your house. So when the chip rice was served to everyone, Lord Nityananda, in the mood of meditation, he brought Lord Chaitanya there. See, now Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, far away. But Lord Nityananda brought him to this festival in Panihati in a mysterious way. And when Lord Chaitanya arrived, Lord Nityananda stood up. Now, if people were watching this, they don't understand what's going on. Only a few people can understand what was actually happening. And Lord Nityananda, and then they saw that Lord Nityananda was enjoying sweet rice with yogurt and condensed milk. And so Lord Nityananda from each pot took a morsel of chip rice and pushed it into the mouth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a joke. Now people are watching this, but not everyone is seeing Lord Chaitanya, so they're a little bit confused what's going on. But they could tell something fun is happening. And then Lord Chaitanya also was smiling, and he took some morsels of food and pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda and laughed. And he made Lord Nityananda eat it. So in this way, Lord Nityananda began to walk through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas standing there were seeing the fun. No one could understand what Nityananda Prabhu was doing as he walked about. Some, however, who were very fortunate could see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also present. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side, he kept 4 pots of chip rice that had not been made from boiled paddy. And Lord Nityananda offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a place and had him sit down. Then, together, the 2 brothers began eating chip rice. Seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eating with them, Lord Nityananda Prabhu became very happy and exhibited varieties of ecstatic love. Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, "All of you eat, chanting the holy name of Hari." Immediately, the holy names Hari Hari resounded, filling the entire universe. So this is the way Lord Nityananda's party respect prasadam. They don't eat prasadam and gossip with each other, as we do. They sat together, and every time they would take a morsel of food, of prasadam, they would say, "Hari Hari." So one person is taking prasadam, and he said, Hari Hari, and another person takes prasadam, and he said, Hari Hari. So Hari Hari was going on constantly during the prasadam. We should try that. No gossiping, just Hari Hari. So you have a loud, tumultuous kirtan going on during prasadam. So when all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names, Hari Hari, and eating, they remembered how Krishna and Balarama ate with their companions, the cowherd boys, on the bank of the Yamuna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu are extremely merciful and liberal. It was Raghunath Dasa's good fortune that they accepted all these dealings. So, I mean, in other words, Raghunath Das is very fortunate that he could organize on the bidding of Lord Nityananda such a festival and see the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and all the exalted devotees that were there. Who can understand the influence and mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu? He is so powerful that he induced Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come eat chip rice on the bank of the Ganges. And he did it in a mysterious way, because Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri. All the confidential devotees who were cowherd boys, headed by Sri Ramadasa, were absorbed in ecstatic love. They thought the bank of the Ganges had become the bank of the Yamuna. When the shopkeepers of many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chip rice, yogurt, sweetmeats, and bananas. As they came, bringing all kinds of food, Raghunath Das purchased it all. He gave them the price for their goods and later fed them the very same food. So now you see what's called the opulence, the culture of opulence. This is Krishna consciousness. There's no worry about money. If one has a sincere, loving, devotional attitude, they're not worried about money. Money will come if our desires are pure to please Radha and Krishna. We should be sure about this. This is one of the signs of surrender to the Lord. One of those signs of surrender. In other words, you accept everything favorable for Krishna consciousness. You reject everything unfavorable. And you have absolute faith that Krishna will protect you. That's extremely important. You have to have that faith. And then above that is you're absolutely sure that Krishna is your maintainer. Therefore, you're not in anxiety. You're not worried, where will we get the money from? Money will come, as I said, if the desires are pure. If no one has any selfish desire, you just have pure desires to please the Lord, the money will come. As it is now. So here's Raghunath Das is extremely rich. And he's not worried about spending so much money for the festival. So now more businessmen come from different villages, and he buys everything they have, and he also insists that they sit down and take the prasadam. So anyone who came to see how these funny things were going on was also fed chip rice, yogurt, and bananas. After Lord Nityananda Prabhu finished eating, he washed his hands and mouth and gave Raghunath Dasa the food remaining in the 4 pots. There was food remaining in the 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and a Brahmana distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. So then a Brahmana brought a flower garland and placed the garland on Nityananda's neck and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. Sandalwood, by the way, in those days was very expensive, and the devotees would sacrifice in order to offer it to the Lord. It's expensive today, but it was more expensive then. It was more rare at that time. When a devotee brought betel nuts and offered them to Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and chewed them. With his own hands, Nityananda Prabhu distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and betel nuts remained. After receiving the remnants of food left by Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Dasa, who was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his own associates. Thus I have described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda Prabhu in relation to the celebrated festival of chip rice and yogurt. Nityananda Prabhu rested for the day, and when the day ended, he went to the temple of Raghava Pandit and began congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So he had promised Raghava Pandit, look, I'm going to take this feast first, but then I'm going to come to your house later on and eat everything that you have prepared for me. So Nityananda Prabhu first influenced all the devotees to dance, and finally he himself began dancing, thus inundating the entire world with ecstatic love. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu could see this, but the others could not. Yeah, because basically this is a mysterious appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Only a very few devotees could see him. Most devotees couldn't see. The dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, like the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cannot be compared to anything within these three worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda's dancing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes to see it. So in other words, Prabhupada said, the dancing is scientific also. Yeah. There's a science to that also, and the proof that it's scientific is its sweetness. Everyone's attracted to it when it's done properly. After the dancing and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghava Pandit submitted his request that the Lord take supper. Lord Nityananda sat down for supper with his personal associates and made a sitting place on his right side for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing happiness. Now see, Raghava Pandit is able to see Lord Chaitanya. Raghava Pandit brought the prasadam before the two brothers and therefore distributed prasadam to all the other Vaishnavas. Now, when Mother Sachi requested Lord Chaitanya to make his headquarters in Puri, that was so she could get news of him on some regular basis, because she said the devotees would go to Puri and come back often to Bengal. But there was something mysterious also, because Mother Sachi would cook for Lord Chaitanya every day. And mysteriously, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda would come and eat the prasadam. This was something that most people cannot understand. But the devotees can understand it, because we also invite every day Krishna to take prasadam. We don't see the food disappear from the plate, but we know if it's offered sincerely and prepared sincerely, the Lord comes and accepts the prasadam and blesses it and gives it back as his prasadam for us. So there were varieties of cakes, sweet rice, and fine cooked rice that surpassed the taste of nectar. There were also varieties of vegetables. The food prepared and offered to the deity by Raghava Pandit was like the essence of nectar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there again and again to eat such prasadam. So now we're hearing not only Lord Chaitanya takes prasadam from Sachi Devi, but he also comes to the house of Raghava Pandit to take prasadam there. So this should be a hint to all of us of the power of presenting food to the deity with love and devotion. Do not think that the Lord does not appreciate it or come and taste it. You should know for certain that it's happening if the offering is made with love and devotion. When Raghava Pandit offered the food to the deity after cooking, he would make a separate offering for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghava Pandit the opportunity to see him. So in other words, the ability to see the Lord is something that is a blessing. One, just like when Krishna gave the blessing to Arjuna to see his universal form, so he can also bless us when we offer prasadam sincerely and make a sitting place for him, so that we can also see him in our own house. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghava Pandit the opportunity to see him. Raghava Pandit would bring and distribute prasadam to the two brothers, feeding them with great attention. They ate everything, and therefore there were no remnants left. He brought so many presentations that no one could know them perfectly. Indeed, it was a fact that the Supreme Mother, Radharani, personally cooked in the house of Raghava Pandit. Now, look, this is becoming very transcendental. Radharani is coming also to the house of Raghava Pandit to cook for Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, or in other words, Krishna and Balaram. Srimati Radharani received from Durvasa Muni the benediction that whatever she cooked would be sweeter than nectar. That is the special feature of her cooking. Aromatic and pleasing to see, the food was the essence of all sweetness. Thus, the two brothers, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, ate it with great satisfaction. All the devotees present requested Raghunath Dasa to sit down and take prasadam. But Raghava Pandita told them, he will take prasadam later. All the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. Thereafter, chanting the holy name of Hari, they stood up and washed their hands and mouths. So, now, yesterday when we went on Sankirtan with the food truck, Rasavati Dasi made Bengali khichdi and very nice vegetable preparation and very, very tasty halwa. So when I sat down also to have some prasadam, of course we had nice rotis too with ghee, and I tasted it, it was like nectar. And everybody I asked, how is it? They were saying, oh, this is fantastic. And one guy said, this is exactly what I need. But it was an American guy. And there was one Hindu student there. He's from Kerala. I said, you like it? He said, yes, it's very good. It's just like food in Kerala. I said, really? I said, this is Bengali, you get khichdi. He said, no. In Kerala, we call this something else. What's the name in Kerala? It starts with a B. Huh? Yeah, that's it. Bisi Bilivat. He said, this is Bisi Bilivat. So, I mean, he was really enjoying it. So he ate everything on his plate. And I looked at it and I said, you want to have some more? He said, can we have some more? I said, yeah, of course. Really? He said, yes. So he went back and got another full plate. So you can see that Rasavati is also blessed by Radharani. Okay, so it says, all the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. Thereafter, chanting the holy name of Hari, they stood up and washed their hands and mouths. After eating, the two brothers washed their hands and mouths. Then Raghava Pandit brought flower garlands and sandalwood pulp and decorated them. Raghava Pandit offered them betel nuts and worshipped their lotus feet. He also distributed the betel nuts and flower garlands and sandalwood pulp to the devotees. Raghava Pandit, being very merciful toward Raghunath Dasa, offered him the dishes with the remnants of food left by the two brothers. He said, Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has eaten this food. If you take his remnants, you will be released from the bondage of your family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead always resides either in the heart or in the home of a devotee. This fact is sometimes hidden and sometimes manifest, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all-pervasive, and therefore he resides everywhere. Anyone who doubts this will be annihilated. In the morning, after taking his bath in the Ganges, Nityananda Prabhu sat down with his associates beneath the same tree under which he had previously sat. Raghunath Das went there and worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Through Raghava Pandita, he submitted his desire. He said, I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen, and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I have tried my best many times, but I have never been successful. Every time I tried to go away and give up my home relationship, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. But if you are merciful, even the lowest of men can attain the shelter of his lotus feet. So we'll see the deities and then we'll finish. We're almost finished. Haribol, Haribol. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol.
Were you standing on my backpack? That's fatal backpack. And the person, why do you even use a baby backpack? It's not a baby backpack. It is, isn't it? Not really a baby. It's baby. So what? So baby, that means she's too big for my sister. So what? You're a baby. Oh no. Not too big. You know, you can, there's something like here where you can take it.
Jasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Khana Jasomati Nandana Nagara Jasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Khana Gokula Ranjana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damona Vidhana Amala Harinam Amiya Bilasa Amala Harinam Amiya Bilasa Bipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Bamshi Badana Subasa Bipina Purandara Bamshi Badana Bipina Purandara Nabina Nagara Bara Bamsi Badana Subasa Vipina Purandara Bamsi Badana Braja Jana Palana Sura Kulanasana Nanda Godana Rakho Ala Govinda Madhava Nabanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Nabanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basana Hara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Sri Radha Ballabha Vrindavana Natabara Sri Radha Ballabha Vrindavana Natabara Bhakti Vinoda Shraya Bhakti Vinoda Shraya Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Jai Nityananda Pravishton Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivyajakacharya Stutara Sadasvishriman His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Bhangaracharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Nityalila Pravishton Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Anand Kuti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Sri Nityananda Ram Mahamahotsava Ki Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Devi Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Naam Sankirtan Ki Hari Naam Mahamantra Ki Brihad Madanga Seva Ki Parama Karuna Sisi Gaur Nityananda Ki Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki, Sri Radha Nil Madhava ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji ki, Shri Lakshmi Nrsimhadev ki, Sambhira Bhakta Brindu ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So we'll finish now. So Raghunath Das says, like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I have tried my best many times, but I have never been successful. In other words, he's talking about surrendering to Lord Chaitanya and completely dedicating his life to serving the Lord. Every time I tried to go away and give up my home relationships, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. So he's speaking to Lord Nityananda. But if you are merciful, even the lowest of men can attain shelter at his lowest lotus feet. So Lord Nityananda is the quintessential or original spiritual master. And it's by his mercy that we can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Radha and Krishna. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy, but if you are merciful, even the lowest of men can attain the shelter of his lotus feet. This is what Krishna consciousness is. It means that even the lowest of persons in this world can become Krishna conscious by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nevertheless request you, sir, to be especially merciful towards me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Placing your feet on my head, give me the benediction that I may achieve the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without difficulty. I pray for this benediction. After hearing this appeal by Raghunath Dasa, Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiled and told all the devotees, Raghunath Dasa's standard of material happiness is equal to that of Indra, the king of heaven. Because of the mercy bestowed upon him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. Therefore, let every one of you be merciful toward him and give him the benediction that he may very soon attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna does not value even the standard of happiness available in Brahmaloka, the topmost planet, and what to speak of heavenly happiness. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is offered sublime poetic prayers by those trying to attain his favor. Thus he is known as Uttama Sloka. Being very eager to gain the association of Lord Krishna, King Bharata, although in the prime of youth, gave up his very attractive wife, affectionate children, most beloved friends, and opulent kingdom, exactly as one gives up stool after excreting it. This verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 14th chapter, 43rd verse. Then Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Dasa near him, placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Dasa's head and began to speak. "My dear Raghunath Dasa," he said, "since you arranged the feast on the bank of the Ganges, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy. By his causeless mercy, he ate the chip rice and milk. Then, after seeing the dancing of the devotees at night, he took his supper. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaurahari came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary, Swarup Damodara. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all this, return to your own home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Dasa blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Dasa offered his respects to their lotus feet. After taking leave of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and then all the other Vaishnavas, Sri Raghunath Dasa consulted secretly with Raghava Pandit. After consulting with Raghava Pandit, he secretly delivered 100 gold coins and about 7 tulas of gold into the hand of Nityananda Prabhu's treasurer. Raghunath Dasa admonished the treasurer, "Do not speak about this to Lord Nityananda Prabhu now. But when he returns home, kindly inform him about this presentation." Thereupon, Raghava Pandit took Raghunath Dasa to his home. After inducing him to see the deity, he gave Raghunath Dasa a garland and sandalwood pulp. He gave Raghunath Dasa a large quantity of prasadam to eat on his way home. Then Raghunath Dasa again spoke to Raghava Pandit. "I want to give money," he said, "just to worship the lotus feet of all the great devotees, servants and subservants of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you think fit, give 20, 15, 12, 10, or 5 coins to each of them." Raghunath Dasa drew up an account of the amount to be given and submitted it to Raghava Pandita, who then made up a list showing how much money was to be paid to each and every devotee. With great humility, Raghunath Das placed 100 gold coins and about 2 tolas of gold before Raghava Pandita for all the other devotees. After taking dust from the lotus feet of Raghava Pandita, Raghunath Das returned to his home, feeling greatly obligated to Lord Nityananda Prabhu because of having received his merciful benediction. So, here we see the transcendental pastimes of Lord Nityananda, who is the quintessential guru. He, Hare Krishna. He did exactly what Prabhupada did also when he came to America. Prabhupada came to America and he said that I have come not to take the money from the Americans, but to teach them how to use it in Krishna's service. See, that is what that's what Nityananda Prabhu did with Raghava Pandit. He said, "You're a thief, and I have come today to punish you." And what was the punishment? You have to pay for this festival, and you have to organize it. And the festival kept getting bigger and bigger, and Raghunath Das Goswami, he didn't object. The bigger it came, the more he spent. And the more he spent, the happier he became. And more people kept coming. And the whole thing was wonderful. So, this is a hint to us, to all grihastas, that here we are earning money. Now, Srila Prabhupada has come and taught us how to spend that money. We spend it on Harinam Sankirtan and Prasadam distribution. And the more we do it, the happier we'll become internally, because that happiness is a sign that Lord Chaitanya is blessing you. That happiness is a sign that the Lord is blessing you. We should understand that. Therefore, there's nothing like this movement in the world. Nowhere can you get such benediction from Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and help so many people that are actually suffering and floundering in the material world. So we should take special attention and give special attention to the mercy of Lord Nityananda today, and thank him that we're able to participate in this transcendental movement, the Hare Krishna, Harinam Sankirtan movement. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Gaura Premanandi Haribol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.